good evening, good morning from wherever you're watching us from. We want to thank you for joining Life MTV and Uganda Crossroads, to be specific. What you're doing makes us move forward, not only today, but even in the future of Uganda. This week, I've always come here and share, there are always stories that develop week after week. Now this week, it has not only happened in Uganda, but even in neighboring countries. We know that Uganda Crossroads specifically will focus on what's going on in Uganda, but it's also important for us to look into outside and how the situation in the other countries can affect our politics or economy or anything within Uganda. And now, this week that we are ending today, we saw a different move in northern Sudan. When Omar al-Bashir was ousted by his army generals, and within just 24 hours, the general also resigned, and then the system kept on going like that. But of course, you also know the opposition is not sitting down. They're demanding for a fair civil government, non-military government. What do we expect from that? Those are the stories that tonight we're going to be discussing here on Uganda Crossroads. The team is full. Everybody's around. I do want to thank you so much again for being part of all the programs we have here on Campfire TV USA and Life MTV on Facebook. From whichever platform you watch us from, what you're doing is great, and we want to thank you. In Uganda, stories are still going on. We saw Bobby Wine today going to Kabaka's birthday celebrations. We also have gotten breaking news about what's going on in Guru University over who has to win and how the Electoral Commission for Guru University has been arrested. All those things that are coming up and developing every single minute, we're here to share them and break them down. And I'm in the studio with Herman again. I'm with Hilary Taylor and Sarah Joy Bakanasa. Guys, I want to thank you for coming back again this week. It's been a week of drama and a week of so many things that we didn't expect to happen, especially in Sudan. Omar al-Bashir is out. And his vice president, who doesn't want to be recognized as a vice president, the Minister of Defense, comes in and say, hey, we are taking him out. We are taking control of everything here in Sudan. And just within a few hours, he resigns. Was it just because of pressure? I understand you guys have been following up on all the stories. So let me start with here. Was it because of pressure or what?
Well, first of all, let me say greetings to our dear viewers. It's always a pleasure to come and interact with my comrades here on this wonderful panel to discuss ways forward, how we can also defeat dictator General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni in our country, who has been deliberately stubborn in our country for 33 years. So the wave that has come in Sudan with the defeat of Omar al-Bashir, Field Marshal, is a signal, a clear signal to Mr. Museveni that now the revolution is coming close to home, because it's coming to East Africa, from North Africa towards to Central Africa. It's now coming close to East Africa. So it gives me hope that as Ugandans, we have to learn different lessons from the uprising that happened in Sudan, because we can also rise up and also turn events in a rightful way to ensure that we build a better future for our country. As millennials, of course, in our country, we are concerned about the status quo, because we've been born in dictatorship, we've grown in dictatorship. We cannot allow the next generation also to live in the same dictatorship. So we believe that we're going to use each and everything possible peacefully to ensure that we get rid of this regime as soon as possible. And I tell the government of Mr. Museveni that you have numbered days, because we are working day and night to ensure that we get rid of you. So change is inevitable and change is coming to our country.
All right, thank you. So let me, I always break the protocol. Normally they say ladies first. So Sarah, what came to your mind throughout the week of South Sudan? What happened, and what did you pick from that?
Good evening, viewers from definitely from the US, East Coast and West Coast, and then people who watch us from Uganda. I know we have a lot of fans from Uganda, and then people who are watching us from all over the world. People watch us from the Gulf countries, especially people who love what is happening in Uganda and the politics and activism. People love watching us. The issue about Sudan is really interesting, because if you notice, pressure has been mounting for some time, and people have been demanding for Bashir to step down. but finally he does. But for me, the interesting twist was the army chief taking over. And then I saw someone commenting and saying that it is what is happening right now in Southern Sudan is drinking old wine in a new bottle. As in, it's buying a new bottle and pouring in old wine. Because first of all, the army chief has been involved in a lot of scandals in criminal crimes in regards to abuse of human rights, in corruption. So many things he's been involved. So taking away Bashir and leaving and bringing up someone who is not any different from Bashir, the only difference that Bashir, it's all what differs from them is one is Bashir, now this is another person. So I think what the move from the people of Southern Sudan, Sudan, not Southern Sudan. Yes, the move from the people of Sudan was really, really good, because moving away from Bashir and going into another person who has been cited in all the corruption, in all human rights abuse, you've not done nothing. It's like washing clothes and drying them on the floor.
So he stepped down, I think.
Yeah, so his step down is really, really key, because the pressure has been mounting from the opposition and people who really want to clean up, because there's no way you would clean up with someone like that being in power. And 2 years, as much as you're looking at 2 years as something small, that's a lot of time for someone to be in power for 2 years. 2 years could become 10 years. You've seen how dictators come and implant themselves and don't want to leave at any one moment in time.
Sure.
So if you uproot people like them right now and don't even give them a chance to hold an office, then they're going to clean up.
All right. So one of the things that happened within this week, again, on the same story, before we go into details, Sudanese General Awad bin Awaf also resigned after being, declared as a current president for, Sudan. What did that story tell you when it broke up?
I am very happy to be here, and good afternoon, viewers on the East Coast. But good afternoon,
Good evening to
how are you wherever you are around the world? That I relate this to. And Hillary will disagree with me on this, I know, because last time he mentioned that the best person with a portfolio for president was Amama Mbabazi. I see it as...
I say like manifesto.
Manifesto.
Yeah, to me...
but I see it as, it is the same thing. I did not understand how we the youth could decide not to elect Museveni and then elect Amama Mbabazi. It's the same thing, you understand? Yeah. So I relate everything I see around the world, I try to relate to Uganda, and I am very happy that Mr. Amama Mbabazi did not make it as president, and so the same thing for General Awad. After the overthrow of Bashir, then General Awad takes over, and then the people still demand, because like Norbert Mao says, we don't want to get rid of one person, we want to change the system. That's what Norbert Mao said. So for me it was a mistake, and I hope that we don't see Amama's face in the next general election, and ideally, I hope that there's no opposition, even the Museveni built opposition, because it's the same. All right. It's the same. It's the same problem that we are fighting.
We're going to continue with that discussion.
Just slightly add on what my comrade Hamad has said, and Sarah, because they were saying, basically what they were saying is that a change of name is not a change of guard. If you remove one person, military person, and again you bring the same military person who was oppressing the people, then it doesn't, add up. Because they were talking about that army chief who was, also engaged in war crimes. If you remember very well, 2009 Darfur, crisis in Sudan. Yes, so lots of people, lost their lives. People were, starving to death simply because of the greed of al-Bashir with his men, that Minister of Defense. And again, look at the uprising, like the genesis of this uprising in Sudan. It didn't, start from bigger issues, but it was from small things. The issue of bread, food became a serious issue because the rate of inflation was going to 80% in this regime of Omar al-Bashir.
Right.
So people couldn't afford the cost of bread. They couldn't afford the cost of fuel, gas. And again, takes us back to the French Revolution.
All right,
I
so
remember very during the French Revolution,
all right,
when Marie Antoinette told the Frenchmen that if you can't afford the cost of, if you can't afford bread, then buy cakes.
All right.
So it was the same thing Omar al-Bashir was telling his people. If you can't afford bread, you could buy cakes. So people said, enough is enough of this nonsense. We are going to rise up and go to streets and we get you out of power.
Right.
And again, something that is interesting about this thing is that the middle class was involved.
Good. So let me take the mic back. Sarah, we wanted to say something.
You see, the most interesting bit about he mentioned that what caused their pricing was the fact that there was an increase in prices of bread. Look at their pricing in Tunisia. So they are kind of related to the living standards of people. So people, when they feel oppressed for a long time and they feel like they no longer want to live the way they live, then they're going to rise up. I think Ugandans have been oppressed enough. When they are ready to rise up, I do not know. But I think the rising up is long overdue. Because things, you can see almost a liter of fuel in Uganda is about 5,000.
Yeah.
It's more expensive
More
than
expensive.
here.
Yeah.
And if
more
you go
expensive than
to
buying
fishing
fuel.
sites, it's over.
I always tell
5,000.
people back home that I use $20 a week. I use $20 and the money I make with $20, you can never even imagine. $20 a week is enough fuel for me to run my errands and make enough money and I was telling some, I need only $30 to fill up my tank.
Yeah.
$30, I have a full tank. So I think when we are looking at, but again, this should also give us momentum as Ugandans. I don't know if we are going to take out Museveni through the vote, but we need to do something.
All right,
he needs to go either way because you know, it has before I heard about the uprising, people standing up in Sudan, I was asking myself, this is a Muslim country, how are they doing it? But it looks like they are more, they have more solidarity as Muslims and more determined. And I think as Ugandans and being a young generation, either way we need to do something and get Museveni out of power.
One of the things that before I come to you guys, there are some comments that are coming in for quite a long period of time. People have been asking us as Campfire TV, as Life TV online, why do we only bring people from one side? Are we doing the CNN way or Fox News? The reality, to clear the air, is we have tried on many occasions to reach out to the NRM colleagues, but for some reason they tell us they will show up, and on the very day they don't come. On several occasions for the last 2 years that this show, or for the last number of months that this show has been airing, we've been trying as much as possible to reach out to the NRM colleagues, to even other political parties. There are some people who support PDP and others who support DP. You know, people have different views and different political affiliations, but we have always tried to reach out to them, and nobody dares to come. For some reason, I think I'm going to start with that question before we go back to Sudan, to these guys here. Why do you guys think people from NRM don't come? Let me give you a lead. Is it because they can't defend it? Or tell me, guys, what do you think?
First of all, you have, I don't know what the generation you're looking, because some of the people you've had people here who come here and defend NRM, and when you speak about their story, they also ran away from Uganda because the conditions were not good. So I keep asking them, just because now you are in your comfort zone, and why did you run away from? That's the thing. Why did you leave Uganda in the first place? Oh, I left Uganda because there were no jobs. So then what are you defending? What are you defending? Okay, right now you're comfortable, or right now let's assume there are jobs. Why aren't you going back? So and at the end of the day, their defense to the questions raised. Sometimes I've seen people get annoyed on this panel because we've asked them the questions. Oh, don't go personal. I'm like, why don't I go personal? Because I'm asking you, why are you here? If you're thinking the situation in Uganda is good, then why aren't you in Uganda? Why are you here? Why did you leave your family? Why did you leave your clan members? Why? You mean you don't want to enjoy the sun throughout the year? You mean you want to be in the cold weather in the winter, and and go through that for almost 6-7 months? So usually the way they handle questions, especially when you came here either as someone who left Uganda when the conditions were not good, and at this point in time you want to defend something claiming, oh, it's good, the situation in Uganda is okay, they've built roads, they've built hospitals. I'm like, when you fall sick, why don't you board a plane and go and be treated in Uganda? They can't. So I think we have so many challenging questions as people who want to see change, but they cannot give us answers to the questions we always pose to them.
Hero, what do you think?
Well, for me, I'll just, be left in speculations because we can't answer for them since they're not here. It would be good for them to come here and tell us why they find it so hard. So since we are in this, boat of speculation, then I could think that maybe some of them fear criticism, so they can't come here and we start critiquing them about the government policies. So they can't defend the positions of the government that has taken over 3 decades, and it has failed to improve the status, the livelihoods of Ugandans. And again, also, some of them fear to engage in, conversations. But in this today's generation, the only way we can go forward is by engaging in conversations. So if they fear, if they have that phobia of engaging in conversations, then we have nothing to do about it. And again, I could see also, as Sarah has told you, they lack facts because we know each and every time this government has been fabricating results. Yeah. So data is fabricated in Uganda. There is no, evidence that you could see, and you can't tell someone that in the last 3 decades we've achieved this and we are here like this. So if you're benchmarking the socioeconomic transformation of other countries like Malaysia or South Africa and Ghana in terms of GDP, because we were at the same levels years ago, but again, right now we can't benchmark ourselves to such countries. So it's very hard to defend the government. And again, they've seen Ugandans being oppressed. So if you come here and say that this government is pro-people, yet your relatives are living in absolute poverty, yet your relatives are sending you requests to send them money back home each and every week, and for you, you're working each and every time here. They can't tell. Yes, they can't tell the input you're putting in to get that money. So at times, people will come here to say what they don't mean because they know the reality. So it's in other words, they just prefer to stay behind cameras and they make their noise behind the keyboards, maybe via WhatsApp or Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. But they fear to come before cameras like us.
All right. What do you think?
I think that it is sad that we can't get someone to sit in and respond to and take responsibility for the 33 years that their party has been in government, and that simply shows how rotten the regime is, and how bad anyone who says is pro-NRM or Museveni has done this for Uganda, or how sad and distasteful, they just throw me off completely. So I think, generally speaking, they have nothing to say to the people. There's nothing more. I mean, look at corruption, look at land matters, look at theft, daytime robbery, you look at debt, look at militarization of the police, look at, there's nothing. Look at agriculture. You know who runs agriculture in Uganda? The person who runs NADS is General Salim Saleh. And let me tell you a sad story. These things, sometimes you can come and speak, but when you have felt these things right next to you, my mom lives in Chiwoga, and Salim Saleh came and bought maize. For maize, everyone had planted maize that season. So General Salim Saleh built what's it called, a granary? Or,
yeah, granaries.
And so he bought maize for the entire town, the entire village, the entire district. When he bought it at 150 shillings per kilo. Now, after that week or a few days, the price of maize went to 500 shillings per kilo. And this is what they tell the local people. We are participating in agriculture. Look, we've built a granary. We've brought this to your town. You can now buy maize from us and sell it while it's processed. They are fooling Ugandans. And these are the things that NRM people can't defend. It's hard to explain how a farmer who waited 9 months for maize to grow is paid 150 shillings for a person who's already wealthy, who's already in government, who has farms and land and everything, comes and sells that maize for 500 shillings, 350 shillings per kilo of profit from a local Ugandan. We Ugandans are working for this government. We Ugandans are allowing this to continue. So I beg Ugandans to rise up and say no to anyone who's pro-Museveni, pro-NRM. Stand for your rights. Stand for the basic food, the basic rights. You guys are calling bread a small thing. Bread is a basic need. It is very important.
The popular food.
It is,
yeah,
exactly.
Most Arabic countries.
So these people are in Uganda. People are already playing with the basic needs of man. You know, security, shelter. Lusanja, talk about Lusanja, how the houses were broken down. In Lusanja, let me tell you, I have every reason to be here. In Lusanja, there's where they demolished houses. I am a neighbor. I have a plot of land, and there are some houses right there. I don't know how lucky I was. They stopped right next to the fence that has those houses. Do you know how much it cost to build a house, to build rentals in Lusanja?
Of course, they're going to come for your land. Yeah.
So
it's a sure deal. So,
but the sad part, that's not the sad part. The sad part is all these houses were demolished, and in the middle, there was one house standing. And people asked, why wasn't that house demolished? And do you know what the answer was? Eyo nyumba ya msirikali. Can you believe how that injustice, how do you pay back the millions of money and the hard work that Ugandans put in to build houses and leave one man? These are the injustices that people need to stand up about. And that is why I think that NRM cannot come here and explain anything to us.
Just slightly also to add on what these comrades have said. I think also if you look at our working pattern in the US, it's kind of challenging. So at times I think some of those folks of NRM, they can't sacrifice their time to ensure that they come and talk about the way forward for their country. So it's so challenging for them. And again, also the spirit of patriotism. So I think with some NRM folks, they don't have patriotism. That's Uganda first. So that's why you don't see any of them here. And the other point of maybe could be, I could sympathize with them because with the last one guy we hosted here, Comrade Mukasa, I think some of the comments on Facebook were not appealing to him. So I think as viewers of this program, they should also be respectful of whoever comes here to give their opinions, because at the end of the day, we're just giving personal opinions. So we shouldn't go beyond, insults and so on. We can, control ourselves in a respectful way.
Sure.
So if we respect ourselves and also all opinions of other people, then I think it will open doors for them and they come back on this show.
I'm glad that you guys have answered that question of why we don't bring NRM people here very well. So there is nothing I can add on that. So the viewers, those are the reasons why when we call them, probably they don't show up. But it's not our intention that we only parade people power supporters, because you realize we always challenge them. So all right, guys. So let's go back into our usual politics. So Sudan's case, it's not new in Africa. We saw it in Zimbabwe, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya. It's not new, right?
Yeah.
Every time it happens, you, the people in the opposition, you said this time, this is a lesson for President Museveni, and it's going to be leaving power. Nothing has changed. For the last 20 years, everything has remained the same. Where is the problem? You people power, people power is a new movement. But
one thing you must know, there's time for everything. Whether there's an uprising, whether it's through a vote or what, Museveni will one time leave power.
Exactly.
He could die death is a natural
So
disaster.
is it going to be like God's mercy to take him
No,
out, or you guys are
God
not
could
willing
take him
to?
away. Could they even take him away today or any other day? So you cannot tell me. Museveni is not going to be the president of Uganda forever. That is 100% impossible. He's going to go. But at the same time, as he's still clinging on power and beefing up his security, right now I saw the budget for State House right now is, in 2016 the budget was 50 billion. Now it's 410 billion. That's what they are demanding for 2019, 2021. And I wonder how a budget increases by over 100%. Because from 50 billion to 110, that means the president is so insecure. I do not know whether he's using CIA for his security. I don't know whether he hired FBI to beef up his security. I don't know where he's getting all these people.
It's a sign of inflation.
Yeah, one is a sign of inflation, but he's so insecure because as a president, what does he need all this money for? 410 billion for just a mere state house. His, first of all, state house is more financed by most of the, like you would want money to go in some of the most vital ministries like Ministry of Agriculture, because when you look at Uganda, still the backbone of Uganda is agriculture. That's where we would be making a lot of money, but that does not even get a quarter of what goes into State House, but we know this money
it's only
ends up
getting 4%.
Yeah, this money ends up in handouts, in envelopes, in bribery, in whatever, all kinds of things.
So technically it brings back the money to the community, right?
It's not like bringing back the money to the community. Individuals are stealing money, they are buying houses abroad, they're taking their kids to study abroad. They are doing so many things. They're buying their own personal luxury because if one of the State House agents buys an expensive car, how are you going to benefit as an ordinary Ugandan? Are you going to benefit from the dust he splashes, you know, when he's driving past you? How are you going to benefit from someone having an expensive car? You're not.
All right.
So, and still, when they get sick, they take their kids abroad they travel abroad for treatment. So, it does not, some of these wealthy people, a mass does not help completely the normal or the ordinary Ugandan. So, when you look at the way he's beefing up his security, when you look at, first of all, he's also scared because one of the things you must understand, Gaddafi was the most powerful. In fact, they looked at Gaddafi at one point as he was almost, they looked at him as becoming the president of he was the president of African Union, but there were talks of uniting Africa and it becomes one bloc. And Gaddafi was positioning himself for that. If you didn't know, when Gaddafi used to come to Uganda, he used to come with his full entourage, from chefs to, you know, cleaners to name it.
Everyone.
Yes, he used to come, and whenever he used to be in Uganda, the Ugandan security used to be taken away. He used to come with his own security. Where's Gaddafi right now? So if these things have been happening in other countries, I know Museveni is not stupid. He knows it's going to happen to him one time or the other. So that's why you see he's beefing up his security. I've been told, someone whispered to me and said his top security right now, they're not Ugandans. The SFC, they're not Ugandans. They were gotten from another country. I wonder where from, but someone told me they're not Ugandans who are doing his personal security right now because he doesn't trust Ugandans. Because some of those guys, if they were Ugandans, they were disgruntled as all the ordinary Ugandans. So, an uprising, whether it's revolt, and you see what, you know, we are called the millennials. This is a generation of people who are, we are desperate for one change, and again we want to see better because we haven't seen anything better yet. We want to see, you see people who are graduates with no jobs, you see people who want to have a better life. Someone has been stuck in being in a low class for 10, 20 years. They're not even graduating to the middle class. So there are so many young, energetic people, and they want to grow from one place to another, but they cannot. They're stuck. They don't know what to do.
All right. So there is a point. There is a problem here, especially for, you know, the people power movement. Very many people power supporters don't like intellectuals. But what we see in Sudan is the intellectuals who came out and actually mobilized the masses to continue with what they're doing today.
You're wrong to say, because if you're saying so many people, power supporters, don't like intellectuals, otherwise you are dismissing us. This is a group of intellectuals. He's fresh from Harvard. I am here, an intellectual. Here he's an intellectual. Whereas so many, you know, being desperate does not take away the fact that you're an intellectual. There are so many people who are intellectuals, but they are desperate. And maybe at some point people kind of sound rude, or they use abusive language, but that comes from anger and frustration. Sometimes when people, you've seen even in Museveni, you would call a decent man abusing people. So when people are frustrated and have lost hope, then they will end up using other means that maybe they feel you listen to them when they become abusive. Because if people talk to you politely for a long period of time and you don't listen, what other option? They're going to become abusive. And they feel like maybe when they become abusive, you're going to listen. I'll give you an example. You've seen Dr. Stella Nyanzi. Maybe for a long time she used to air out her grievances. No one was listening. She's a full doctor. She has a PhD. She's very smart. If you've never engaged her, very smart. When she became abusive, everyone is listening right now. People were not listening before. But maybe because when she used that, now people are listening because people are deaf for a long time. So it's not that people power advocates or activists don't like intellectuals. We are intellectuals ourselves. But at the same time, we are not going to take away the fact that some people are desperate for change. What you would call, I wouldn't call them intellectuals. The people we are fighting are the kind, it is the 1, maybe 5% who are comfortable. They are non-intellectuals. These are people who have amassed a lot of wealth to themselves, and they are comfortable. They do not care if Museveni rules Uganda for the next 50 years because it doesn't bother them. Their kids are not in Uganda. Their kids studied from abroad, and they have kids. They work abroad. When they fall sick, they take the nearest plane, and they are on treatment in UK, in Canada, in USA. They are not even bothered. When you look at their houses in Uganda, you may not believe their houses are placed in Uganda because there is no drop of dirt. They have like 20 employees who wake up in the morning to just splash water around the garden so that it is dust free. They drive Lamborghinis. They have all these expensive cars. They shop from Nairobi. When they want to eat salmon, they fly to Nairobi and go to Mombasa and shop salmon, fresh salmon, and bring it to Kampala. When they want, Saturday night, if they want to shop clothes, they fly to Dubai, they fly to USA, they fly to America. If they want to have entertainment, they go and watch football live from UK. So how are you going to compete with those people? It is a comfortable few, but it does not make them intelligent. In fact, they are really stupid people who have amassed wealth on behalf of Ugandans, and they do not care, because someone who is as selfish as that, to enjoy all that wealth by themselves as if they are gods, as if they will never die, and let the rest suffer, they've never been intelligent. So if they're intelligent, that word has lost meaning.
I don't know what you call intellectual. Someone who steals 450 million in an office and dresses up in a suit, or someone who speaks facts like Robert Kyagulanyi. I call Robert Kyagulanyi, Robert Kyagulanyi an intellectual. I call Norbert Mao an intellectual. I call Basalirwa an intellectual. I call Hillary an intellectual. I call almost every people power supporter an intellectual, because they understand that pyramid that I always talk about, the Maslow's pyramid. They know what the basic needs are. The people who consider themselves intellectual are in office asking for mpaye chikumi nkukolere kino, mpaye chikumi nkusayiningire wano. That is, so it depends on your definition of intellectual. If intellectual is dressing up smart and looking official, maybe people power supporters are not intellectual. But if you mean intellectual in the actual sense, according to the dictionary, I think that actually people power supporters are intellectual. Just say they need education on communication. Maybe. But also, if you press, they say if you press someone hard enough and you don't leave them with a way out, they fight to the death. So you have, when you're pressing someone, you have to leave them a way out so that they
oppress
can.
People, so they will use, oppressed people always use anything. And no matter how intelligent they are, they will use all options they have to see themselves get to the end of the tunnel. Right. Ugandans are oppressed. You will not take away that from them. And I'm telling you, they are very intelligent people, but they are demanding for change.
Yeah, maybe if I could add on what my comrades have said, because you see, revolutions or uprisings come in phases, so it takes time. You've been seeing the people of Sudan, coming on streets and they go back. So they didn't come on the street one day and they achieved what they wanted.
Yeah.
So it was all about the courage and resilience. And again, if you look with the downfall of the African dictators, go back in 1997 when Mobutu Sese Wazabanga Wakula was defeated in Congo, then Zaire, he was forced with his limousine to go to the airport and leave the country until he was forced to go and seek asylum in Morocco.
Sorry,
Then
sorry
go-
to
go-
interject a little bit. I heard the story that he was buried standing. Is that true? Or seriously?
Well,
It's a story I heard that he was buried standing
there are
straight like
different
this.
conspiracies about
How he was buried.
about his burial. But again, also look at this the Arab Spring, where it began from in Tunisia. If you look at also Ben Ali, how was he forced out of the country? Because remember very well, he was forced also to board a plane, go to France, and France told him, we can't host you here. So they forced him to go to Saudi Arabia.
So
Then go to Muammar Gaddafi, because he was also defiant to give back power to the people. But he was forced to run into the deserts with his drivers. So when NATO, threw some, small missiles to his convoy, then the driver got confused which way to take, and Gaddafi was killed like a rat by his own people. Then go to 1979, how Idi Amin Dada, field marshal, also was forced from Uganda to seek exile in Kenya and later on in Saudi Arabia. So the ball goes back to the leaders of our country. Do they want to die and kill their legacies like that? Or they want to sustain their legacies and they give people successors at an earlier stage? Because imagine if Muammar Gaddafi had been in power for maybe like 15 years or 20 years and put someone to succeed him, because the guy was in power for 41 years and people get fed up. Like Nambos one time said that once you put grasshoppers in a bottle, for them, they will fail to know how to jump out of the bottle, but they will be starting to fight against each other. So the same way it happens to these people. Are you going to oppress them? You think that they're happy because Muammar Gaddafi thought people are happy. But once they rise up, that's when you're going to know the anger of the people towards you. So they will fight against you.
So,
and remember very well the words of Muammar Gaddafi. He was asking those young boys, why are you doing this to me? Because he never imagined that his own people would kill him.
because he was doing good,
other than people,
right?
I know people are gonna, blame at the international community, like NATO. Why did NATO intervene? NATO is responsible for all these things. But again, for me, it goes back to the leaders. Why can they, give power back to the people as soon as possible?
Yeah.
Just like PLO Lumumba was saying, that let African leaders inject hygiene in our politics. So if you want to move forward, let's inject hygiene in our politics. And again, you're talking about also the middle class. You're saying it's intellectuals, or they did a great part in this uprising in Sudan. But again, you have to know that it was a collective responsibility. Sudan, they will tell you that the people in diaspora played a very big role towards the defeat of Omar al-Bashir. Because before even that, they were in negotiations with the government. Because people who are living here in DC, they were putting pressure to the congressmen.
On that point, what have you guys?
Intervene. Then maybe, but before I got that. But again, look at also women. Women played a very big role in this revolution, because in very rare circumstances where we're going to see women at the front lines.
Yeah.
But again, we saw a young, student.
16 or 18
I think she was like 21. She was Allah. Is it Allah something?
Right.
She was very vocal towards in this uprising. Well, even other women were involved. But again, look at the middle class. So that's why we tell Ugandans, if we want to change our country, we need the middle class to be engaged. Because whenever the middle class is comfortable, it's so hard for we, the people, to win. So in all revolutions, you're going to see the middle class being engaged. Because in Sudan, you could see lawyers driving taxis.
That's
simply because the government failed to provide employment opportunities. And again, it was a big slap in the face of Omar al-Bashir when South Sudan said, we want to become independent from you. That's when events started turning upside down. And he was very slow to study the situation in his country. If he had started the situation in his country, then he would have, surrendered power.
So that's what the problem is, because in many cases, actually up to today, people from the ghetto, I don't know whether they also came from the same side, but they tend to say that, oh, the middle class or the upper class is not important in this struggle, right? Because what we have seen people from the upper class come speak about people power and all that, or sometimes speak against it, criticize it positively or negatively. And even like, we don't need you guys, we are able to do the change. So don't you think that could be a limitation to what's going on? But before we go to that, let me ask you, Haman, do you think these are the sounding bells? What is happening in Sudan that will let Museveni know that it's time to pack up his bags?
I think Museveni is deaf. It has happened, honestly. If it were, I don't want to match myself with Museveni, but if it were any normal human being who has ears, these bells should be enough. Those bells, Gaddafi, whoever, those should be enough. Museveni is third on the list of the most, the leaders who have stayed in power longest in the world. Third, number 3 in the world. So I think he competes with even some kings who are supposed to be lifetime rulers. So no, these are not sounding bells to him. We have to shake these bells louder. These are not enough. Museveni, I don't see him. Maybe, he will give up, but we have to put the power. Look at the common denominator. I think the weather in Uganda currently is very favorable for this to happen. The common denominator is a leader has stayed in power for long. That's 1. 2, youth rising up. It doesn't matter. Middle class, lower class, upper class, youth rising up. 3, current situation in the country. Land. Basic needs, like I say. If those things are not available, the weather is very right. The recipe is right for an overthrow, a coup, a loss in an election, whatever it is. Eventually, in this interim period before the election, Museveni is leaving.
For me, I would differ with my comrade Haman. I believe strongly that Museveni is aware and he's listening to the sounding bells from different countries because of his actions. Because yesterday you saw what happened. He was going to visit the barracks. So why do you think he was going to visit the barracks?
No, he has been doing that
for how long has he been visiting barracks? For how long? When was the last time you saw Museveni visiting the barracks? So this was panic, it's pressure on him, and he knows very well that these men can stand against him very soon. And trust me, very soon you're going to see a reshuffle in the army because Museveni is now feeling the pressure. So he may change the CDF, Chief of Defense Force, because the way it happened with uprising in Zimbabwe when they were fighting against the leadership of Robert Mugabe, Museveni changed the Chief of Defense Force.
Mugabe.
So he brought us Katumba Wamala. Then from there, he brought a new Chief of Defense Force. So today, again, he may also reshuffle his army men. So he's going to promise them lies, as he has been doing, because he wants to gain faith in them. And again, also expect a reshuffle in the cabinet, because he knows that some of his cabinet ministers are worried about the status quo. So they think or they expect people are going to rise up as soon as possible.
Right.
So Museveni is aware and he is panicking, he feels the pressure, and people are not giving up on him.
Yeah, so, sorry.
I would say, just like you said, Hilary, Museveni is aware, but he has a lot of false confidence coming from his mafias, all the goons who are surrounding him.
At times he has
because if you see if you see the people who speak for government, when they come on either national television to speak, I'm like, where are these guys coming from? They seem like they're living in space. They don't seem like they live in the same Uganda the ordinary Ugandans are living in. They're talking about things being fine. They're talking about the kind of life they are living. They're talking about, if you didn't know they were talking about Uganda, you would be thinking maybe they're talking of some other country outside Uganda that is doing really well. Because for them, They have he knows, but he has this group that keeps coming back to him and convincing him. I saw one person from NRM who was very dismissive about Bobby Wine. Oh, that's a passing crowd, you know, a passing cloud. Oh, you know, you don't expect anything much from him. And I'm like, guys, you need to wake up. I think when they go back and sit with Museveni, they are so dismissive and they're like, oh, you don't have to worry. We've been there. You know, but Museveni himself knows. And you see, the biggest challenge Museveni has, just like you said, the weather is so right. You cannot make a few people in the army comfortable because you have over thousands and thousands of army officers who are living in dire poverty.
All right,
These guys are living in a dire state. They are like paupers. If you've been to these barracks, they suffer the same way as the ordinary Ugandans. The only difference they have is they hold a gun. So the only mistake he has done over the years is, as much as he thinks he owns the army, he owns the top officers who are not even 100. Because
Yes,
the top officers, if you're talking of an uprising, even if it's to start from the army, that 100 will not fight over maybe the 1 million.
Could that be the reason for why, according to some sources that tell us that in last year's elections, some barracks voted more, some voted more for Dr. Besigye than him?
They have been.
With that, tell us that let's assume
most of them have been voting the opposition, because I am telling you, unless you've never visited these, do you know how much these guys earn a month? It's about 250, 300, less than $100 a month. And have you seen the imports they live in? Some of these policemen have benefited more in being corrupt. Basically, that's how they earn their money. They are corrupt, they are engaged in all crimes, they sell off their guns to robbers and then get them back. That's how they benefit their money. And I want to talk about what you would call the middle class. The middle class in Uganda is a mockery. When you look at how many people some of what has been now termed the middle class, it's these young flamboyant boys who are fraudsters. They are into the gold, you know, fake game. They parade cars. No one knows their source of income. That's the middle class we have in Uganda. No one knows their source of income. They are either into the gold scam. They are either into, you know, all kinds of dubious ways of making money. And those are the ones you call your middle class.
Yeah, so we have so many times, you know, discussed about these areas. Now, I want to ask you this. What is the best solution? What should Ugandans do? Because, I mean, we talk about these problems. We know there is poor infrastructure. We know poor governance. What is the solution for now? Do you really think, you guys, that Ugandans right now are capable of doing what happened in Sudan to host President Museveni?
They are, but Ugandans are capable of anything. And you see, it is just like it's said, so many things happen in stages. What you've had happening in the from the last 1 year, it has been the awakening. You've had so many people, inclusive, it could have been even me and you, not believing in ourselves. So many people, you see now Ugandans have awakened up and they're beginning to believe that yes, we can. You've seen people being awakened, people are getting now the Ndagamuntu. You've seen, if you look at the involvement of the young people in politics of Uganda today compared to what happened before, the involvement has shot up to over 100%, over 100 or 1,000%. Just go back to, you know, where politics starts from is university politics. You've seen how young women, young men are deeply involved in the politics of their universities, because that's the nurturing of politics. That's where it starts from. And you've seen so many people are talking about it. If you walk around Kampala, if you talk to people in Kampala, you've seen young kids, young children are talking about people power, people are talking about Ndagamuntu. So it's the awakening of people to know that power belongs to them has been massive, and it has been a successful project. But now the fact that Ugandans are awakened and feel like the power belongs to them, they can do anything.
So sure.
I agree with her that we have, the weather is right, so everyone is talking about these issues right now. 3 years ago, before last election, you were not talking about politics. I don't know if Hillary was, but I highly doubt.
We've been talking about politics for years.
I mean, to this stage, I mean, I have been talking about politics for the past 3 elections, trying to discuss, but not as forcefully as I am. You know, there's an initiative I am starting up to try and fundraise for campaigns for someone. So there's more involvement clearly. But the other thing that I think we are struggling with as Uganda, and one of these guys might correct me if I'm wrong, is we lack a glue to bring people together. I understand the Sudanese, these parades and things that brought Bashir down, where they all happened after prayers, after Friday prayers. People, it's mostly a Muslim country, so people after prayers, they stayed around and they walked in the streets, and this is how this grew. But the strategy that Museveni is using to fight, even with his deaf ears, is put money here, put money into the Christians, put money in a few Muslims, split them up, lack the glue to start something like this.
Divide and rule.
Divide and rule, right. So in all these countries, you can see that the wave is mostly from Northern Africa. So most of these countries are Muslim countries. So they have a glue, but we are struggling, I think, still, because we are, first of all, very many tribes, which I am proud of, because it is diversity and it is tolerance, but it is, I think, pulling back the struggle. I think Ugandans now need to put whatever religion or tribe on the side, and even when an NRM person approaches you to talk to you, talk to them in a very convincing manner, so that they fall on our side. And let me finish quickly, so that we can get that glue. I got the word glue from Mao, and I think that he is accurate on that point.
Right. So this week, CFTV reported that Bobby Wine, I think in German, there is a video that we put out there, and there is a statement he mentioned when he was asked, what are the main challenges you're going to face or are facing in your campaigns? And this was his answer. It's the opposition. Some members in opposition are only concerned about their positions, that they will fight any composition that will threaten their positions. Right? Was he technically attacking Dr. SJ and the crew? Was he technically attacking other opposition leaders who have been fighting so hard to see the regime change, but nothing has happened, and they still want to stay in power?
I think it is our responsibility, and also yours as a Ugandan, not to use the word attack. If someone is calling out someone else, it is a fact that, you know, some people in the opposition are not letting go of their position. So it is a struggle, and maybe if the other opposition members came around, we would have that glue that we are so badly looking for to make this movement go forward.
All right, so here, the reason why I came up with this is because of...
Yes, maybe before I come into this, let me just slightly also throw some more insights on the other previous topic we were talking about of Mao el-Bashir or Sudan, because we're talking about Museveni's visit to the barracks, because for me, I was looking at it in a different perspective, because in my own view, I was thinking that Museveni, as the commander-in-chief, he went to that barracks to send a message to the army men of our country, to intimidate them, to threaten them, that I am still the commander-in-chief. There is nothing you can do to me. So that was a clear intimidation of this junta, Mr. Museveni. So we cannot tolerate such nonsense with this man, Mr. Museveni, and we have to call him out, because you cannot just go to the barracks like that after what happened in Sudan. So with the pressure that is mounting on him, now he wants to threaten the army, that you can't do nothing so long as I'm still the commander-in-chief. And again, also, they talked about these different things about you know, the Arab Spring being that it was, you know, mainly uprisings beginning on Fridays. And I agree with them that the dynamics of our politics is different. If you look at sub-Saharan region and also North Africa, it's totally different. So much as, you know, these are you know, the countries in the north used more of uprisings. For us, we might use democracy, and we use the power of the ballot paper. So there are different options.
Right.
We may not necessarily rise up as Sudan did it, but we can use the power of the ballot paper, one man, one vote, and we defeat this dictator. So going back to your point of you know, the
opposition,
the assertions that were made by Bobi Wine while he was on his visit in Germany, for me, I believe that as they always say, politics is about numbers. So the more we work in segmented ways, the more we're dividing our vote.
Yep.
So we need to consolidate our synergies, and at the end of the day, we shall defeat the dictator. Because time and again, we've seen the same faces of opposition. So as some time back, Sarah used to say that in opposition, we have also dictators. So we need to pave way for new leaders or new faces to ensure that we take our country forward.
All right.
So Bobi Wine is right to make such a comment. So it's all about leaders putting their greed aside, and they put the country forward in order to move forward as a nation.
Sarah, on the same point, I'm glad that we left the issue of South Sudan, and we are now back to basically Uganda. Recently, and I think it was last week, or the week we're ending, Jose Chameleone came out and said, I'm going to stand as a mayor in the coming elections. In the same post, we have like 3 people. Ragadi also says, I'm coming back. And actually, he laughed at Chameleone. And we also have the MP from Kawempe, Latif Sebagala, also standing for the same position. But here's a trick. It appears to be that it's only Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago, who is the father, the mother, the child of Kampala Capital City Authority, or Kampala as a city. What does that tell you, sir? Is in line with what Bobi Wine said?
Literally, I don't know who you want me to talk about, and I do not want to, you know, sometimes, who do you want me to talk about?
Let me start with the Chameleone. Chameleone declared to be standing in as a mayor very soon. Then after, all of you guys will tell me about why it's bad for someone to stand against the Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago, who is in opposition, or for this case, the man in position.
I think every Ugandan has a right to feel maybe they need to run or represent their people. But what I'm going to say is, but at the same time, we have to be careful at who we are allowing to represent us. Because what I've seen in what has come up right now is everyone feels now they want to get into politics. Whether they understand the dynamics or whether they understand what needs to be done, people are looking at this as a game right now. For me, it feels like some people are thinking this is the new game. It's the new hot thing to do, games of thorns, whatever it is. Everyone wants to be part of it. It has become like Hollywood. So it makes me, I think we need serious people out there who are going to represent. I've seen so many people, I'm not going to give names, I've seen so many people jamming into politics I would never approve of, but they have every right to come out and say, okay, I want to contest, whether they are voted or not. But again, we should be very careful on who we are putting out there, because some people do not even know, apart from jumping on what is the hottest thing, it's like the newest hit song around Kampala, people jumping on it. There are people literally, I look at and know they're not going to represent their people. I don't know if they've been put there if they are a distraction coming from the NRM to distract, or I don't know what their intentions are. Yes, some could say they've been motivated by Bobi Wine But again, come on. There are so many good things Bobby Wine can motivate you in. Go and do charity. Bobby Wine has done so many things apart from joining politics.
So in other words, you're trying to mean Camilo doesn't deserve to become the mayor?
That's not what I'm saying. I don't want to be misquoted. I don't want, because sometimes one thing I've discovered with this way, if you're misquoted and give and start naming people, people call you out and say, oh, you feel they cannot stand. I'm not saying Cameroon cannot stand. But what I'm saying that it's going to come down to the voters to know who is going to properly represent them in parliament. But again, what I'm saying, we have to be careful because not everyone who feels that they passed either senior six, they have the credentials, should be given space. Because some people, I feel they don't even know what they're going to do. They do not know what it takes to be a mayor. They do not know what it takes to serve. You can still be an activist. I tell people so many, I've never even had an urge to go for an elective position. Why is everyone, if everyone is jumping from serve, everyone wants to serve, then who is going to be the voters? It looks like everyone wants to join active politics and then they will have no one to vote for them. So for me, my position would be is we have to scrutinize whoever is vying for these places. And it shouldn't be anyone. I don't care whether you're famous or not. Politics is not about who is famous sometimes. Sometimes we have to go back to the core values of positions you're going to stand for. Right. If you're standing for a mayor, if you're going to be, because the reason why most of us are standing behind Bobby Wine is the fact that what we are seeing right now is Bobby Wine has demonstrated that he has capability, though he still has a lot to learn. We agree he has a lot to learn. He has demonstrated for a very long period of time that we've seen him grow and being pro-people. Through his music, he's been thinking about the plights of people. We've seen him he has lived the talk and done stuff. And we've seen him, he's not the type of person who has been changing goalposts and positions from this to that. And he still has a lot of nurturing. But you see there is a lot of potential in Bobby Wine, even if he's vying for the office of the presidency. There is a lot of potential in him. And with a lot of nurturing, with a lot of practice, with a lot of education, he's going to be there. But let's not just jump from wherever we can. Because let me finish up my point. Let me finish up my point. Let's not just jump from wherever we are coming from. I have seen, on the other side, I've seen so many other musicians. Everyone wants to become a politician. Who is going to vote? Why can't you use your position as a... I'm not talking about Chameleon. I'm talking about all the rest I've seen. You could still use your position as a musician to do activism. Take the message. Let the people know that we need Indagamontu. People know we need change. Sometimes you do not need to be in a leadership position for you to effect change. I could be just doing activism, but I cause more impact than someone who is going to be in the office. So before these people, whoever wants an elective position, I want them to sit back and evaluate themselves. Are they going to serve the people, or they are going to serve themselves, or they are going in there to elevate their positions and enjoy, enjoy the taxpayers' money and are they using their popularity to get into such offices? Because we've seen it all. We've seen Judith Babirye.
Right.
And I'm telling you, what has Judith Babirye? People, when they were voting for Judith Babirye, the reason they gave why they were voting for her was because she was a musician and she used to sing spiritual songs. Go to Wuyikwe right now. People don't want even to see her. People do not want to see the sight of Judith Babirye.
Is it that you guys... To me, I might have a different view. Because for me, I look at it in a way of self-realization and also accountability. So as voters, do you have those powers in you to make your leaders accountable? So if you say maybe like Honorable Judith Babirye is not doing what you expected her to do in Parliament, then as people, you need to make your leader accountable. Maybe you can pull them out of Parliament. So people have, as voters, they need also to go back. We need to do more of civic education to ensure that we teach our voters about the powers they have as mandated in our 1995 Constitution, that they can make their leaders accountable at any time and at any cost. And again, also for me, I would love to see as many people as possible to come out and stand in these positions, because this is the only way we can change the status quo. If we say that we've had politicians who have been in Parliament for over 30 years and we've been silent about it, then let more Boda men come, because
I want to take you back to the issue of the mayor and the comedian.
I'm coming to
Right.
that point. If you look at Boda men, these guys are educated. They have the qualifications, all the skills, and they can become potential leaders in our country. But we've not given them an opportunity. So you can't gauge someone's, potential without, giving them the opportunity. So at times, as you know, our politics has been commercialized. So many of the people with skills or, potential have been also cut off simply because of the monetarization that has been put in our politics. So as government, as legislation, they have to also probably think about different ways that if you say someone is going to stand for presidents, what amount are you charging each candidate?
All right,
if you say someone is going to pick up forms to become a member of parliament, what amount are you putting on that person?
So,
are you charging on that person? So I want to see the charges, the charges being cut maybe by half. By doing so, we are going to give more opportunities to young people, because they don't have enough resources to
All right, so here is to be
but
clear.
again, because if
point.
we give them the opportunity that the forms are affordable, because very many young leaders, are stuck. They just need to be on the table, and they make policies be implemented. But because these people with money, they have manipulated our politics, we've been blinded that they are the ones with the potential. Yet very many young people can change the
Let me interject a little bit. Before even you say something, I don't want to forget this point. And for me, this I'm going to beg, I'm literally begging our brothers and sisters who are popular. If you really feel or you do not understand any position you're vying for, if you do not mean what it means to represent and serve people, don't use your popularity to get into those positions, because you are not doing any service to Ugandans. Because you could be popular, but popularity does not mean you serving. So I'm begging our brothers and sisters who have either musicians or comedians or whatever they are, if you totally don't stand into these positions because you want to enrich yourself, don't stand into these positions because you can earn the 25 million, get a free car, get free services here and there, and live a comfortable life. That's not what we are looking for right now. Because it is going to be very tricky for our popular brothers and sisters. Its chances are they are likely to win votes because they have an upper hand over the other candidates. Maybe because Ugandans are tired. Ugandans are kind of depressed. Someone is going to come on stage and they start singing, and then that's how Babidia got in parliament.
Yeah, maybe sorry, if I could interject.
Hold up a second.
Okay.
So I am begging them, in the hearts of hearts, whoever wants to get into active politics, but you're coming from a background where you're popular, where you have already fans and a following, and it is a little bit, you have an upper hand over the other candidates. I am begging you, sit back, ask yourself, are you really going into this to serve the people? Do you understand what it means to represent? Do you really understand being a leader? If you do not, step aside and do activism. You can still have a huge impact using your voice, using your energy, using your time to get the voices, to get the people, the masses understand. Use your music. Make a song about what is happening in Uganda. Whenever you get a moment and get on stage, I like what Eddie Kenzo is doing. Every time he gets a microphone, he talks about, the situation in Uganda. He talks about people do this. We need change. He uses his voice in his, he has said, I know he's not going to get into active politics. But what I want musicians to run away from, I'm not stopping musicians from standing. I'm not saying they can't, but their intentions, because their intentions must be very clear to them, because with the other contestants who may be more suitable, who may have the potential, who may be having the leadership skills, who may want really to serve the people, they may not be able to get into those elective positions because you are popular and already you have a fan base that is gonna be excited with your music and vote for you. Because we should not confuse being music and leadership. These are completely different things. Your singing is different from serving from any political position. You can be good at singing but fail at serving your people. People are not going to eat music. People are not, that's not what people want. People want service delivery. People want you to serve, do the things they sent you to do. So I want whoever is popular, comedians, musicians, I don't want them to use their positions just to elevate their financial wallets and you know, get all these free services they get from, from serving into those positions.
Quickly on Chameleon and the other people standing, I think that what Bobby Wine teaches us is that it is a decision of the people. And Bobby Wine also encourages us to participate actively in politics, because we have seen typical politicians, people who have qualifications, get into those positions and misuse those positions. So I strongly believe that what we should be more worried about is not who is standing. What we should be more worried about is what they represent.
Yes.
Look at the person's history. Look at his background.
Well, what has his background doesn't determine where they're going.
No, no. I think typically,
because if we look at the background of some people may not actually be leaders today. So not because they're bad people, but because of what they used to do.
But there's a trend.
Yeah.
There's a trend. There's when you're changing, it is not drastic. Actually, if it is drastic, people should be worried. So when the change is gentle and it looks very genuine, let us use our judgment. I stand with Hillary saying it is very, very important to educate our electorate. And my initiative eventually aims at educating the electorate so that they make decisions, knowledgeable decisions that benefit the country and not the individuals.
Yep.
PLO Lumumba, when he was visiting, he said that they were talking about elections and politicians, and he said the other problem, and it is an ignored problem, is the electorate. The electorate, once you go for a campaign and you give someone a bar of soap, typically in Uganda, he says, now this one has given me soap. That is how they make decisions.
Right.
Omusajja bambi yampadde sabuni we kati gompadde ki, and so they put their future on a bar of soap, and that is why Museveni is stealing all the money, he's making all the profit, so that when he brings you a bar of soap, it excites you to give away your future and your children's future to the other side. To repeat again what I'm saying, to insist and make it firm, it is the electorate's responsibility. Do not blame Museveni. Stop blaming other people. You stand up and say, we know you from what you did last time. First keep quiet, we want this person. Well, and they have the ability to do that through the...
Slightly also supplement what the comrades have said. You see, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, she used to be a DJ. But right now, yes, right now she's one of the most, outstanding leaders of the world today. You saw how she handled the mosque attack recently, and the world gave her credit for the way she handled that scenario. And again, also popularity at times it plays a role in changing events, because at times people will be doubting your potential. Yet you as an individual, you have that courage, the self-belief that I can deliver. You see, if you go back to the campaign trail of 2016 in the US, all the pundits were against the leadership of Donald Trump. But again, the guy has disapproved them, because he has been fulfilling his promises one by one, because he had a manifesto, and he is
No, go on.
Sorry.
No,
yeah. So you see, like
I just wanted to be like, no, you're lying. He has it, but let's go.
Okay. Yeah, see, we can create a big debate on whether Donald Trump has achieved or not. But again, for me, I'll look at, I'll use parameters or depending on his manifesto, that he has been, achieving his promises, because he has brought about the justice reform. He has brought about the new replacement of NAFTA, that is called USMCA. He has so the achievements are very many, but of course liberals won't see them or won't mention them to acknowledge that the guy has achieved for this country. So we can't, deny someone's inalienable and inherent rights to stand if he wants to stand.
All right, so
if any musician has qualifications, let them come and sell us their ideas.
Here.
So for us as voters, we are interested in ideas. Who has the best ideas? Are they applicable in our economy? So if they are applicable in our communities, then we can say that we're going with candidate X and Y and Z. So that's why, again, I say that the first imperative thing we have to do as a nation is civic education. So without, engaging all the efforts in civic education, right away from primary schools to secondary schools and universities, we are doing nothing, and we are, creating a big block towards the democracy development in our country.
All right, so
the other thing I wanted to add on a little bit before you go away, and I wanted these guys to understand me. I'm not stopping anyone. And I wanted to be quoted right. I'm not stopping. I'm for every Ugandan standing for elective positions. But what I want to say to these musicians, I don't want them to be selfish, to use their popularity to take away positions that would better be suited for other people who are really intending to serve.
Sarah, you can't judge someone
no,
before
because
they get the opportunity. First give them the opportunity, then see if they can deliver or not.
You can tell. Literally, you can. Unless you guys unless you guys are blind. Some of these guys who are vying.
Leadership, they have
No. Some of these guys who are vying for political positions. I am telling you this. I'm not talking about chameleon. Some of these musicians vying for political positions, they are not going to serve. The guys are going in to enrich themselves. They are not going to serve.
So they're doing the Katolu Obama's thing?
No, I'm saying that? Because let me tell you one thing. Just like he said, you do not just wake up and even being serving or being in leadership or doing something. This is something that must have been. There are things you must have been doing. Either to the community, either to your, there are things that you must have been doing that makes us believe, okay, we can see potential. You don't just tell me you're going to wake up from anywhere and say, oh, you're going to serve.
All right,
no. There must be something.
We have seen, and on so many occasions we have seen people toning down when it comes to chameleon versus the Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago, as compared to when we talk about Bobby Wine versus President Museveni.
No, Bobby Wine has, just like I've told you, Bobby Wine has proved himself beyond reasonable doubt.
No, sorry. Or Bobby Wine versus Dr. Besigye. It's different.
No, because, yeah.
Is it that Elias Lukwago, who is well known for the legal, sector, is it that he's the only person who is supposed to be the Lord Mayor?
No, he's not. He's
not. With the previous elections, of course, you saw also some prominent people coming out. You saw a TV presenter called Miles Ramiti. He came out and
did he stand or he came? He withdrew.
Well, he never made it. But again, we had also Francis Babu. So Francis Babu came back, but he never made it. We had very many guys, of course, some other folks from DP, but they never made it. So for me, I believe in open democracy. Let anyone who has that belief in him or her that I can deliver come and they assemble themselves, they sell us their ideas. Then we as voters, we shall decide who can become our leader.
But still, I am begging everyone. Because I'm telling you, because I do not want people to use. It is very easy, and I'm talking about everywhere people are going to go. I have seen now Hollywood, Uganda has jumped into the politics of Uganda. Everyone wants to serve, everyone wants to be a politician. But I'm begging them, if you know your right intentions are not to serve the people of Uganda, if you really do not even understand what you're doing, If you feel this is the next phase of your life just because you feel Bobby Wine is there and not understanding what he has gone through to nurture himself to get where he is, don't waste our time. Don't stop a potential number 2 who would have been even a better candidate for people power, or someone who has really been good with whatever he has been doing already and use the popularity and take away what they would have done to serve their people.
But there, Sarah, you'll be denying someone's rights.
No, I'm not denying their right, because you know why I'm saying that?
Because you are a musician.
It is when, you know, one of the things I want you to understand, when you are a musician, when you already have a fan base, you have an upper hand over any other contestant, because you have fans who do not care how good the other person is. They are your fans. You've seen people fight because I'm a fan of so and so.
How about we educate the voters about
That's
the
what I'm
rightful
saying.
thing
But
to do
as
than,
much as, yes,
denying someone
education of the voters is key, but at the same time, before even, you know, it has taken us time for Ugandans to get awakened. Instead of allowing our voters, wasting our time to go through sensitization and teaching them about this, why don't you do us the service? Why don't you just help us and not waste our time for us to educate the voters? Because some of these people are going in for selfish reasons. We can't be blind about it. For completely 100% selfish reasons. Their intentions is not to serve. They just want the next big thing.
So, Sarah, look at this thing in this scenario. In 1971, you know, some people couldn't think that Idi Amin Dada could make some achievements for our country. But again, we can agree or fail to agree that Idi Amin left some legacy.
He did.
That we can be proud of.
For me, I'm not
disputing. People looked at him as someone who was illiterate. They thought he couldn't deliver. But again, he surprised them. So for me, I believe in giving someone an opportunity, then we gauge them.
You know why I'm gauging it from?
And now, if we teach people that you are accountable, you have the power, you can remove a leader from their position and you put someone else, then by doing so we shall find a remedy to that issue.
For me, to the voters would be, because what I wanted everyone to understand, he's trying to get what I'm saying, that when you come into an elective position as a musician or as a comedian, you kind of have an upper hand over the other.
So
everyone, let me finish up. Everyone you're contesting with. So I do not want us to lose potential people who are going to really, really serve the people and get in the likes of Judith Babili.
So this is going to be
bring it back home here in the US. You see, with the DNC, Democratic Party, they're going to have elections to get the flag bearer to contest against Donald Trump. But you see, we have over 20 candidates. So if we were to put such parameters to lay off some people, then we could be having like 3 people. But now we have over 20 people. That's the true democracy we want also in our country. And we can, move forward.
All right, so this is going to be a close.
And, briefly, he talked about the leader who was, which country is that, was a DJ?
Netherlands?
New Zealand. Look at his history. You may find he's been serving people in his capacity as a DJ, but he's been serving people into activism, into doing things that are benefiting people.
Yes,
you may find he's been doing that. What I'm talking about, it is the influx of musicians jumping from politics, jumping from whatever they've been doing to politics, just because it's the hottest thing right now, just because it will make your name be talked about right now, just because it's going to make you relevant, just because it is the hottest item selling in Uganda right now. For me, that's what I want us to avoid. The fact that you have an upper hand over the other contestants because you're already popular, let's not use popularity does not serve people. We need people who are going to serve and deliver. We deliver services to the people who are going to really go in and demand. We do not need politicians who are going to go in parliament and after 6 years they've never said anything. But every month they get their salary, they're enjoying the services, they have a new car. That's what we are looking for. We are looking for a parliament, we are looking for all these offices where we are going to have people who are going to speak for the people. Because what we are having right now, we have a few number of people who represent. The rest, I'm telling you, like, for example, in 2016, I saw some young girls who went into parliament, one who had just finished senior 6. I have never heard anything from that girl.
That's among, I think,
yes,
she was
had just finished senior 6. There is another girl who came from, I think, the other side of Western Uganda. She was a young girl as well. What's wrong with these young women?
A daughter of
but
the minister.
don't you think that is more of a problem of the electorate.
Yeah, but then
not choosing
the right. That's what happened.
rightly. Luckily,
it comes back the same thing. That chick, that the young girl was elected because her father just died. So she was given the vote out of sympathy because the father just died and the father used to serve well. What has she done for the people?
Luckily
that's
about
why
democracy
we need civic education.
Luckily about democracy and what Bobi Wine is trying to empower Ugandans to do is, if they make a mistake once, that they are not able to make it again. So if they voted that girl wrongly, or if they voted anyone wrongly, and this shouldn't only apply to mayor,
all right,
but also to president, most importantly.
So we are running out of time.
Once they have the power to vote, they are able to remove the person.
We are running out of time, but on the same topic, I want to ask a closed question. It's a yes or no.
Those are not good questions.
It's going to be a closed question. Why is Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, when he mentioned about people in opposition who don't want to leave opposition, was he talking about who don't want to leave their positions? Was he talking about people like Elias Lukwago? Yes or no, Herman?
I think he was talking about all leaders in the opposition who don't want to leave
you've
their
got my
position.
question here.
I'm
yes
not
or
doubting
no?
your position.
Well, I can't read Bobi Wine's mind. I think the right person to answer the question would be Bobi Wine.
All right, sir.
I'm not going to say yes or no because I don't like closed questions, but what I'm going to say, he meant all, and some of the people, he meant all opposition leaders who have literally become political prostitutes. You see, even the likes of Mabike who move around Bobi Wine, those are political prostitutes. They are everywhere. They are everywhere. You saw them with Mama Mbabazi, you've seen them with Besigye, you've seen them with Bukenya. These are all, and one thing I know with Bobi Wine is extremely smart. He knows all these guys are in to just elevate their positions and stay relevant, because I'm telling you, if it wasn't for Bobi Wine, you could never hear any of these guys. Most of them are just political prostitutes. They're all over the place looking for where their voices remain relevant and where they are going to benefit from, where they are going to get money from donors for their parties and all that. So he meant everyone.
All right, so I want to thank you guys so much. We always have so many things to talk about, but let me end up with this for what happened in Gulu University. The Electoral Commission chairperson was arrested because the chances that People Power again is winning the university. What does that tell the public, especially today, now that the government has understood that? Because when you look at Makerere University, People Power Nkumba, People Power Chambogo, People Power Mobs, People Power, then Gulu University, which is a government university again, People Power affiliates or candidates are taking control of the system. What does that tell you that the government is now starting to intervene in university politics?
You want to start with me?
Right, I want to start with you.
You see what is happening when, first of all, Makerere came up, the government didn't take them seriously. It was after Makerere and Chambogo, and then you had all these other universities in Kumba and all the rest. That's when they've started waking up. Even to People Power, the advocates from, I don't think they were really involved into the election of Makerere University so much until when they saw that, okay, this is, we are winning, and this could be a very good indicator, one, to the electorate to show that, the message is getting to the schools, it's landing on the right people, it's the young people, and the message is landing right. So then the government is waking up right now. That's why you see, if you see what has happened in Gulu, they've deployed the military, all kinds of machinery has been deployed in Gulu. But at the same time, I've seen that they've failed to declare the votes, and the Electoral Commission chairman has been put in police. But this should be still, it goes back to President Museveni to understand that the young people have spoken, and the young people really want change. This should be awakening, something to awaken and tell him that really people want change. And what I've liked in the university campaigns, I've seen women more involved in, I've seen there's a number of young girls who have been involved, and they are winning. So it's really a very good indication. I've seen what happened in mobs. We've seen, I had UCU, they had blocked the candidate of People Power, but I know the lawyers, you know, we have so many lawyers who are willing to work for free in so I know lawyers are on it to see that he gets onto the ballot. But this should be, and you see, you cannot take away the politics of the country from university politics. This, it plays the same way, and I'm telling you, this is a wake-up call. You're going to see Museveni has, that's why he got himself a budget of 410 million. He has a lot of money to give, but you see the good thing with Ugandans, they've mastered it, the money, but vote right.
All right, so I've been informed here that by young Mandela that Ndeje too, also People Power candidate won.
Ndeje, this one of the MPs was in Ndeje campaigning. He helped the girl, that's the MP, I'm forgetting the name, who is always with Bobby Wine. Zake was in Ndeje. So, and one of the things before we end today, much respect to the People Power advocates and you know, activists down in Kampala. Much respect to the people, to Bajo. Much respect to Full Figure. She was put in jail in Gulu, because and she came out because she's been out there campaigning for the, you know, helping out. This boy didn't have any money, the candidate. And much respect to everyone in the diaspora who have been sending money in Uganda to help this candidate at least get us the sound system, right, so to get a curb. So much respect to all these guys who have been literally involved in all this in the university campaigns.
So here what does that tell you?
Yes,
so we're seeing a new trend in politics.
Participated in guild elections. I remember while I was at Makerere University Business School, when Watavare James won as guild president and I served as the guild prime minister of MOBS, I could see the commercialization of university politics. So it's something that we should be concerned about, because you could see the state machinery is pouring lots of funds in students' politics. So that alone is killing the democracy of this young generation. So if young people grow up with that mentality that we have to use money each and every time to buy candy, to give out, you know, to transport, you know, students from their dormitories, hostels to voting stations, then that alone is bribing our minds as, you know, the millennials. So I think the government or our parliament has to find a way of removing these, you know, politicians from engaging in students' leadership. But overall, I could say it's a good sign that People Power is winning in all universities, as they've been mentioned, from MOBS to MOC to Chambogo to UCU to Mbara University
Ndeje, to paramedical,
yes, as it's coming also to Gulu very soon, as the judge may decide. So we should wait for the verdict of the ruling with the Gulu case. But again, we have also to know that this has been the trend, because if you go back to 2016, it was FDC that was winning in all universities. But at the end of the day, it emerged that FDC never won the presidential elections. So this is a good result. It shows, it's a clear signal that yes, the millennials have, you know, risen up, and they are willing to participate actively in the politics of our country. Right. But it should not give us, you know, confidence of night dancers that yes, we have the victory at the end of the day, because we have to be aware that we have to sensitize other people in rural areas, because some people in rural areas don't know about People Power. Yep. So we have to do each and everything possible to, you know, translate the message of People Power in those different local languages. So if people in, you know, maybe Lira, and they have a language they understand, they speak in that community, can we translate our message to those people? Because some people in villages, right, they think we are rebel groups. Our movement is of rebels. So we need to sensitize them, because they have been also brainwashed. They are telling them, whoever you see with the red beret, they do not love Uganda. They are against the economic growth of Uganda. And we have to make, you know, things upright.
They are foreigners.
So we should also focus more on rural areas, and because in all cases, the urban centers, they've been voting for the outstanding person. So I'm sure beyond doubt, urban centers are going to vote for Bobby Wine. but let's also put more focus in villages so they can understand our message very well and they can buy our message. That by 2021 in February, they can vote for Bobi Wine and he gets a landslide.
We've just learned right now that very soon actually they will be stopping people from putting on red tops. Because they can't, because you can't decide someone, you can't tell someone what to wear and when to wear it or where to wear it from. So the government has no right to tell someone what to wear. So that's nonsense of this government, and whoever is passing such laws, they should know that it's not a rightful law to pass. All right, so how many your closing remarks?
My closing remarks are that right makes might, not the other way around. So if someone is mighty, it doesn't mean that what they are doing is right. But doing the right thing can make someone mighty.
All right.
So for the case of the election, again, I see in the 2021 elections, I see this happening when Bobi Wine is announced or an opposition candidate is announced and the Electoral Commission chairman is arrested and people are arrested. Again, my message is to voters. It is the responsibility of the voters to demand for what is right and therefore become mighty.
All right. Yes, and surprisingly, but we see, because we're supposed to get electoral reforms.
Right.
But again, if you look at the Justice Minister, Kahindo Tafiri, is telling us there are no resources to implement those electoral reforms. Then you're wondering, is this government prioritizing democracy or not? So if if you bring a supplementary budget to buy Bombardier jets, yet we need to make electoral reforms that are coming very soon.
We need
then you just know that this government has not prioritized democracy.
We can get some money from the 410 billion.
You can't jump from there. For you, the viewer who is watching us from wherever you are, we want to thank you so much. You send in comments from the time we start to the time we end. We receive them. Sometimes we may not be in position to read names, especially those who are watching us from Facebook. But we really appreciate and we encourage you to continue sending in comments during the show, even after the show. Share the programs. My name again, I am David Lubuurwa, and I want to thank you so much. This month, we are expecting a town hall meeting with one of the UNA presidents. So very soon, we will be updating you on our platform, different platforms. But coming up next, love, sex, and money. See you around. See you next Saturday. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me again. It's a pleasure to always have you around. All right, guys. So see you around next Saturday. Have a great week.
Fireplace Church, the place where God meets men face to face. This is your friend, Pastor Godfrey, the lead pastor here at the Fireplace Church. In the beginning of 2019, God spoke to us about our season. God said, this is your season. And we would like to maximize every moment of this season. We want to take every little bit of every second of this season so that we can receive everything that God has for us at a time like this. Therefore, from August 23rd to August 25th, we have created a moment that we're just going to go on the mountaintop with our online church members from all walks of life, coming to the place where God meets men face to face so that we can just family together a conference that is called the Campfire. We're just going to come together at this fire and enjoy the presence of the Lord. I would like you to welcome your friends and everybody. Share this message all over the world so that we can all gather together and join our hands together and just bless the name of the Lord. I know you got to be there. Pack your bags. Let's climb up on the mountaintop. I know you're just going to love it, but it's going to be so great. God richly bless you. Meet you on the mountaintop. I can't wait to see you there. God bless you. Hi, welcome.